So it's been about 7 years since the COVID-19 vaccine, maybe 6. The answer from the federal government has been tepid at best in compensating people that have been injured due to the COVID-19 vaccination. So as a background, as you know, we at Shannon Law Group handle cases under the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. And up until now, it's not been covered by the COVID-19 vaccine has not been covered under the VICP program. And that's been a problem because there's a lot of people that have had side effects from the COVID-19 vaccination. But here's the development. The Department of Health and Human Services has said they're going to develop an injury table that is responding to the COVID-19 vaccination. So what does that mean to you, and why should you care? Currently, all COVID-19 vaccination claims are handled under the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program, CICP. And under that CICP, attorneys' fees aren't paid, so the attorneys really don't get involved in those cases. Less than 1% of those claims are compensated, and those claims are compensated at very minute amounts. So here's the interesting part. HHS is creating a vaccine table which would correlate specific injuries or death with respect to the vaccine. So, for example, under the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, the VICP, which is what we handle cases for people that are injured by vaccines, there is a injury table, which would denote certain side effects that are compensable pretty much as a matter of right or presumed to be compensable if they meet certain criteria. For example, if you get a flu shot and you have an injury or some sort of causation within the first 3 days, and then it lasts a period of 6 months, and you have treatment throughout that time, typically it's presumed that if you have that specific injury, that side effect will be compensable under the VICP. Now, not in this program, but in the CICP, which is basically the very, very small compared to VICP program. Under that program, they're developing a table for the COVID-19 vaccine, which we've been waiting for. We've been waiting to see how the government was going to respond to this. Because, I'll give you my view, in America, you pretty much you weren't forced to get the COVID-19 vax, but different establishments wouldn't let you go on an airplane. They wouldn't let you travel. Some places you'd lose your job if you didn't get the vaccine. And then basically the federal government, through our elected leaders, was basically saying, hey, get the shot and it's going to go away. You're not going to get sick again. And now we're looking at the data now, and basically the data is far different than what they were saying. So in my opinion, the federal government has some responsibility for making sure some of these things are compensated. Right now, what's happening is Department of Health and Human Services is developing an injury table to determine which specific injuries are related to a COVID-19 vaccination. For example, what side effects are there from the COVID-19 vaccination that would be covered under the CICP? Now, the way we're kind of looking at that to see whether or not eventually the COVID-19 vaccine would graduate to the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, the VICP, which is one that we deal with all the time. And why do we say that? Well, because the difference between a CICP claim and a VICP claim is that in the CICP, less than 1% of claims have been paid out. Less than 1%. The data that I've seen under the VICP is about 48%. So 48 times more likely you're going to get compensation under a VICP claim than you are under a CICP claim. Do you see the difference? I do. It's pretty clear. So that is being proposed for rulemaking. Now, how does it affect us right now? Not at all. What we're looking at is we're trying to read the tea leaves as to what exactly is going on. Say they develop this table, and these medical professionals and rulemakers and lawmakers, they come up with this table and they put it up and they run it through the CICP program. I got to believe that same table, if they moved it to the VICP table, would be similar. That's why we're really looking at this with interest, because between 2020 and now, we got a ton of calls from people that had side effects from the COVID vaccine administration, tons of them. and it's not covered in our VICP. So that's why we're looking at this right now for those people. Here's some machinations that you need to think about, some inside baseball about what's going on. In order for something to be covered under the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, Congress has to vote to install a levy or tax on that administration. So, for example, I don't know if the numbers are exact, but for every flu shot that's given in America, 75 cents of it goes to the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, so that if there's a side effect, that those people can be compensated for that. And so what would have to happen is that Congress would have to vote for every COVID shot is given that excise tax on that in order for there to be a fund to give compensation to the victims. I hope that makes sense. Now, could they make it retroactive to the people that got the vaccine from 2020 till present? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's what we're looking at right now. So this is a very important update. Does it affect you yet? No, because we don't know what specific injuries are going to apply. Is death going to apply? Is specific types of illnesses? Is other heart ailments going to be covered? Are shoulder injuries related to the vaccine administration going to be covered? All these things are out there right now. We don't know. So I think I believe that the rule said that rulemaking would end sometime in early 2027. So we'll find out then what it looks like. There'll be commentary. There'll be all sorts of different things that'll go into place. And we're going to give you updates on this. So one of the things I wanted to let you know is this is the first of hopefully many videos on this, because we're going to stay on top of this like white on rice. So we don't know what injuries are going to be on the table. We don't know much at all other than this is the opening of Pandora's box right now. And we want to make sure that we stay on top of it. And more importantly, at Shannon Law Group, our job is to educate you on your rights and obligations, especially in the vaccine space, because for the past 6 years, we've dedicated a lot of our firm's resources education. We've written books on the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. We've written books on SERVA, shoulder injuries related to vaccine administration, and we're planning on writing more publications to cover all of these things. Our job is to make sure that you're up to date, and so we're going to provide you with that education.